It's an age thing. He thinks I can no longer stand up.
As I said earlier on, a lot of people might recognise the face, but they definitely recognise the voice. It's been the backdrop to one of the most historic moments in Irish sport.
It's been around a while, alright, but it comes to a point where people get tired. And you need something new to listen to and something fresh. And maybe it is time for someone else to take up the baton and go. That's what sport's about.
You've been commentating on the Irish team for 13 years?
Yeah, it all started with Euro 88. Owen Han was the manager and very unlucky not to qualify for European finals. And Han got the Barney Brack. Yeah, he got the sack. And then a guy called Jack Charlton came out of left field. Nobody thought Jack Charlton would get the job. They were all, Bob Paisley was favourite and all sorts of people. And this guy Jack Charlton got the job out of nowhere. And people didn't know what to make of him because he was very blunt, very in your face, told you exactly what he thought, and didn't varnish or water anything down. He just said it the way it was. If he didn't like it, he told you straight up. And I was introduced to Jack Charlton the day he was appointed by Jimmy McGee, great Jimmy McGee. And Jimmy said, Jack, I want you to meet this guy. He's a young reporter with us, he's now our football commentator. And he said, he's one of the good guys. And Charlton looked at me and said, we'll see. And that's the way he was. And he was brilliant. He was brilliant. So he was brilliant to work with, he was brilliant to work alongside. And I was very, very privileged to go everywhere with the Irish team. From Euro 88 in Germany, the first big win over England in Stuttgart, the Ray-Houghton goal. It was the first day of my life I ever saw grown men cry, and it wasn't a funeral. You know, they're actually crying after the game with emotion. Couldn't be beating the old enemy England. Ireland had done it. And the great thing about it for me was, it wasn't just a team, it wasn't just a very good team that, it was a very good team, much better than the team they have now. The supporters were the real heroes. They were fantastic. They were unbelievable, the Irish supporters. They came in their thousands from all parts of the country. They begged, borrowed, saved money, and the same happened again in Italia 90 a few years later, the first World Cup we ever got to. And to see those supporters behave themselves in public and really support the team and sing and party and get behind the team and have a great, great time, and no trouble was ever.
And of course, Chrissy were immortalised in Jock's was Stuttgart.
Absolutely.
That's very uniform, wasn't it?
It was very apt to what was happening because they came by all manner of means. Donkeys and carts are the only things I didn't see there because everything else was there. They crawled, they camped out, they came on bicycles, and there were always, every big match was a big match, of course, in the European finals. We'd never been there. And I always remember the night before the England game, the first game was in the Neckar Stadium, the old Neckar Stadium in Stuttgart. And the teams had an allocated time, it was 45 minutes to train on the pitch, on the actual match pitch, which was going to be the pitch for the next day. And the Irish team were first in, they got their 45 minutes. And the team bus, every country had a bus, a big luxury coach. And on the side of the coach it said, Republic of Ireland, and tricolours beautifully adorned, as the Germans would do a great job. And I'm so proud to see that coach driving into the stadium. And all of the Irish fans were on either side of the bus, cheering the bus when they came in, cheering the bus when it left. And then we all went in and we watched the Irish team train. And then they left. The England team came in next. Nobody was allowed to watch the England team train. Everybody was kept out of the stadium. But it was terrific times, great times.
You've watched, the last 30 odd years, you've watched the greatest, the best of Irish players. Who would you say is our greatest player? Or is it an obvious question?
Well, there's a few of them, I think. Everybody says John Giles was the best ever. He was like before my time. I got to know him in recent years, but I remember him playing for Leeds when I was a kid in England. I remember seeing him play for Leeds, but people say he was the best ever. I don't know. For me, probably Paul McGrath. He had everything. Big Paul and everything. He really did. And such a lovely guy. A really, really good guy. And he was something special. He was something special. He really was. And the guy had something that nobody else got to. He just had determination to win at all costs. And that's what it took sometimes to get the team over the line. He was brilliant.
You said you saw grown men cry for the first time. Was there a time in the commentator box that Gabriel Egan was ready to cry with joy?
Well, nearly, yeah. You're supposed to be, I suppose, unemotional, not unemotional, but neutral. If you're covering a game, how could you be? I mean, I've been a fan of Ireland, any Irish team, in any sport, I supported, and I always have done since I was a kid. So how could you be neutral? They couldn't really. So he took great pride when they did well, and he got very down when they didn't do too well. And in those days, you see, we travelled with the team everywhere. We went on the same flight with the team, we stayed in the same hotel as the team. So you were living with them, cheek by jowl, and that's how you got to know some of the players. So that's how I got to know people like Packy Bowen, Mick McCarthy, and Frank Stapleton, Mark Lawrence, some of these people. You just got to know them by being around them, and it was great.
You did a question and answer session with Packy Bonner, who Packy Bonner is absolutely inspirational. He spoke for about 2 hours in Gages in Rock, and it was unreal. I listened for another 6 hours as well. The question is, there must be so many inspirational stories. You told so many stories that night, and so many things just sprung into your mind. What is, if you're at a dinner party and the gun was put in your head, what is the best story, the funniest story that you have in your 30 years?
Well, it's kind of loads really, but I mean, one story borrows another, and one idea leads to another. But I will remember that England game in Stuttgart. It was the first big one. We've never been to a finals before. Ireland had never been to a major finals. The supporters had never been. The media, people like me, had never been. We didn't know what to expect. The Germans, the Italians, the French, the Dutch, they did it all the time. Ireland was doing this for the very first time. And we were Egypt abroad, really. We were, mixing with the big boys. But I remember Mick McCarthy, after that training session, the night before the game against England, his 2 legs went into spasm. Completely into spasm. And they had to take him and carry him off the training pitch. And then his legs were bandaged up like a mummy. He was literally like a paraplegic being carried around the place. And they thought, this guy is not going to play tomorrow. And he was captain of the team. That was a huge blow. So Charlton said, well, we give him till the morning, and we'll give him a fitness test in the morning. If he gets through that, he plays. If not, we make another arrangement. Kevin Moran was going to step in and take the arm out. Kevin was fine anyway. Another great player. And the next morning, we were at the back of the hotel at 9:30 after breakfast, and Mick McCarthy was being put through his paces by Mick Byrne, who was the team physio, to see if he was going to be fit to play. On the grass at the back of the hotel, he was going to ask to jump, he was going to ask to twist and turn, do shuffle runs, and I was on a breath, like a horse snorting, the steam was coming out of him. And he was passed fit to play, and he played, and the rest is history against Gary Lineker and John Barnes, and the best that England had on the day. And lo and behold, little old Ireland beat them.
You've been around the Ireland team so often, you were on the inside track, you were at the flights, you stayed in the hotel and all that. Is there a book in Gabriel Egan?
There's a few books. I mean, I could have done a book, I suppose, with Jack Charlton in his time. He told me more stuff that was, I suppose, confidential. But if I blabbed the stuff and I came up with it, he'd never speak to me again. I'd never get a little interview, which was no good in my job. So therefore, I had to, keep my counsel, keep my. But I mean, I sat on loads of stuff about players, stuff he told me. Because Jack was like a very open guy, very open, And he would, he'd surprise you, knock you down. And people thought he was a bit, he's rough-edged and all those things, but he's a very shrewd man, very shrewd manager, very shrewd. Maybe not the greatest tactician in the world, but he could size up a team and he could put a team together to do a job. And he'd size up the opposition and get his team to counteract what the opposition would do. He's very clever at doing that,
Before we go, you're an Achill man as well.
Yeah, I mean, Jack, who was down there somewhere? How you doing? Poor Michael Harry, you know, big up to him. Jack was here, I got Jack down here one day, and he sat in the bar inside and he had his bucket full of crab claws, and I enjoyed him thoroughly with Pat, his wife, and a friend of his from England. And he came down and he stayed in Achill overnight, and he was down a couple of times. We took him up the Atlantic Drive, and he loved the place, and loved being out in the open air. He's a country man anyway, and Troy was home anyway, so my mother is from the Sound, so not new to me to be here. So I'm back home. I see Packy Egan, to be all pal, and Michael Francis and Hughie and all from Springdale. I see Joseph McLaughlin over there tonight. Josie, how are you doing? So there were people from my youth, and there's more people here I've seen as well. So I feel totally at home here, always have done, and I'm delighted to be here. I'm home.
And you're very welcome, and so much for having you now as well. So thank you very much, and good rest of the show as well. Ladies and gentlemen, big applause. Gabriel Egan.